Welcome back, everyone, for another Procure Tech Wonders. We're here today with Opstream. They are a procurement orchestration tool that focuses on AI and automation and streamlining your day-to-day procurement needs. I am so excited to dive in today. Welcome, Lihi. I'm so glad for you to be here today. Before we get into the 15-minute deep dive and quick rapid fire, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Lee. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Opstream, and I'm here to change the way companies buy.
So let's go ahead and start with our rapid fire questions. So first, and this is like a softball question for you. What do you do? And can you introduce your company and its mission?
Opstream is an AI-driven, self-service, orchestrated front door for procurement. We basically streamline the entire purchasing process from the moment an employee asks to purchase whatever they need to purchase. It can be software or hardware or travel or marketing swags throughout the entire approval process within the organization and then manage their vendors. We do that and we mainly focus on our AI orchestration layer. Now, I want to take a moment and explain what that buzzword of AI orchestration, what does
Yes.
it even mean? So a lot of the people out there, when they say orchestration, they actually mean a lot of integrations that their engineering team sat down and wrote the code to do all the integrations. When we say orchestration, we actually built an engine that knows to identify the third-party mapping automatically, that knows to adjust to hundreds of tools out there, and we can then integrate with them in a matter of minutes, but not only in the first time that you integrate with them. We actually know to then adjust the integration on the fly whenever you make any changes to that third-party tool. So that's what's unique about our orchestration layer versus a lot of the other orchestration layers out there.
Oh, that's super interesting. I love that. Um, Let me, because we're going to go right into the next question because I think you already touched on it a little bit about how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. But why are you better than your competition out there, and how do you differentiate yourself in the market?
I'll mention four things that we are different at. The first one, and I know everyone say it, but we are 100% self-service. And what's unique about our approach to self-service is that we are really 100% self-service. It means everything, the questions, the conditions, the workflow, the orchestration, the integration, everything not only can be handled by our customers, but they actually do not need training for that because it is so intuitive. And that's the first thing I would say. The second is, and I already touched on that, is our AI engine. Our AI engine is a very deep technology based, and it has at the moment two main scenarios that we incorporate it with. The first one is what we call duplication prevention. When a user starts a request and start to ask for a purchase, we automatically identify that the company already have another vendor that does something very similar to that, and we try to prevent the duplication before it happens. The second layer of AI is what I mentioned earlier about the orchestration. So the orchestration, our AI orchestration layer actually knows, for example, let's say if we integrate with NetSuite for purchase order, and now you want to change your fields in NetSuite to make sure that you have a new field that is mandatory for your purchase order, we will identify that change automatically in NetSuite, and we will adapt the change in Opstream automatically. We will alert the admin and we will change the workflow in Opstream. The third differentiator is our ability to work with both direct and indirect procurement. And that's a very big differentiator because most of the procurement orchestration out there only focus on indirect. We have the ability, because of our strong orchestration layer, we have the ability to read catalogs and then sync the catalog and sync the inventory in between. And that's a huge differentiator. And the last but not least is our approach to collaboration. Basically, our customers can communicate with us and with each other wherever they are, on Slack, on Teams, on email, on mobile. They can communicate with the platform, and we save all the audit logs of all the communication. We do not expect the end user to change their entire behavior for Opstream.
I'm over here taking like copious notes. All of this is that's fantastic. I love I love a lot of what you were just saying. Just the agility that you're portraying within those differentiators is so key for procurement professionals these days. Okay, who is your target market, and what challenges are you trying to solve for them?
We actually see that everyone, every company in the market from a certain stage of their lives need procurement orchestration. We all see that everyone in the procurement space know it. I'm not changing anything here. So at the end of the day, we are not vertical agnostic. We work with tech companies and with financial institutes, with healthcare providers. We work with a lot of different verticals. At the moment, we mainly focus on small enterprises. The reason we focus on small enterprises is because a lot of the time they are the early adopters. They are more keen to use AI in a lot of the places. They are more keen to make sure that everything orchestrates together. But we do have a few of the upper market, and we do work with a few of the Fortune 500. But the main focus at the moment are small enterprises. Looking at the future, we will go more and more into the app market.
How do you price today? And not that we're looking for a price, obviously, but it's around how do you calculate your price, and what do you look for to do that?
I have a very strong opinion about how traditional procurement platform price and why we price different. Because I think that for a procurement platform, pricing per seat is a huge mistake. We do not price per seat. The reason we do not price per seat, and I think that procurement professionals out there like the fact that we don't price per seat, is because we want even the one individual that just need to purchase 2 things a year to be on the platform. Otherwise, what did we do? We didn't really help anyone because they don't have everything in one place. What do we price on? We price on a combination of number of annual requests and number of integrations. And of course, when I say number of purchase requests, I do not mean per purchase. It comes in packages, usually packages of 1,000.
I'm dealing with some user license fee issues right now. We have at a client of ours, it's causing a lot of change management issues, which is something that we look at day in and day out at Wonder Services. So totally hear you on that. What should we be excited about moving forward? So if you can give us a little crystal ball, what is something that's exciting that's coming up?
As I mentioned earlier, at the moment, we mainly use it for 2 use cases, but in our very soon to happen roadmap, our AI engine gets into additional places. Our AI engine is going to start recommending about the right policies, the right questionnaires, how to build the right approval flow. How do we even approach purchase requests? And more than that, we are now starting to incorporate Gen AI in order to make sure that the user, not the end user, the admin that needs to configure everything will not even need to do it using self-service. They will do that using Gen AI. So even self-service will take another step forward and become an AI engine by itself.
So tell us a client success story and the results and the value that they received from it.
So I actually couldn't pick one. So I picked two, but I will do it very short. So the first one would be LastPass. Jeremy Parkin, director of procurement from LastPass. I actually can't stop quoting what he said on his testimonial with us, because he said that it took him longer to schedule demos with other competitors than to launch Opstream to the entire company. And I love this quote. More than that, he actually shared that after launching Opstream, it took them to hire contingent workforce. It reduced the time for them for hiring from 2 weeks to 72 hours, which is incredible results. It's more than 70% reduce of time.
Yeah.
The other example I'll give is with Exegy. So Exegy launched Opstream, and as a matter of fact, I think that they actually launched even faster than LastPass. But what I really want to focus with them is the time it took them to deliver hardware to their customers, because they are a company that actually also deliver hardware, and they had challenges maintaining the inventory. And as I mentioned, we handle inventory as well. We know to read catalogs. And again, this is an example where we help them to reduce the time it takes them to deliver hardware to their customers to literally minutes, from weeks to minutes. And this is, again, something that their VP Finance, I'm quoting him on his testimonial.
Can you tell us the most common mistake leaders make when they are deploying a solution like yours?
I think that leaders, mainly in the procurement and finance organizations, sometimes forget that it will not work unless they will involve the entire company. And I think that's when we look at traditional finance and procurement platforms, they were great, but they only looked at finance and procurement. And that was the big mistake. That was the big change, basically, that the modern tools brought to the table. And I think that the fact that people, procurement and finance, need now to involve marketing and sales, and of course, legal and HR and everyone in security and IT, if they don't do that, if they make decisions in silo, they will not change the entire process for the entire organization. So that's the number one mistake I see. Finance actually continuing to look at themselves, finance and procurement, without looking at the entire organization.
And it's fantastic that we have solutions where we can do that now, like yours. All right.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, I am so excited. You've teed us up really great for the demo. So I am going to hand it over to you for us to see a little bit more about what you're sharing with us today.
Perfect. So let me share my screen. Perfect. So this is Opstream. This is the platform. I will start with creating a request. Everything, as I mentioned, 100% of the platform is actually basically you can configure that, you can change, it is self-service. So those are just examples. I will go now and purchase some software. When I start to purchase software, I can pick which software I want to buy today. Let's say I want to purchase ClickUp. Opstream sits on top of a database of 90,000 software, and we update this catalog on a daily basis. So when I started to type Click, I have everything that has Click in its name, and on the right-hand side, I see the status within the company. I pick ClickUp, and what happens is that here is an example for our AI engine. Our AI engine clicked in and it identified that Smartsheet is very similar to ClickUp. And we already have Smartsheet in the company. And Monday is already requested by someone. So maybe I want to just request access to Smartsheet instead of buying ClickUp, or I want to join the request for Monday. I can also scroll down and see how similar they are to ClickUp, or I can decide that I want to continue with ClickUp. And when I continue, I have additional questions of why not the others. Again, in order to avoid duplicate solutions or duplicate purchases. Now the intake form, I will not go through it all, but I will say that when you launch with Opstream, we come with ready-made templates in order for you to know where to start. And always our recommendation is to start with very few questions, not to overwhelm the end user. But once I start typing, additional questions pop up. So the more I type, the more questions pop up here. And I can have questions that also educate the user slightly. So for example, what are the payment terms below net 30? Oh, please renegotiate. We will not approve that for you. That's how we basically submit requests, and we can submit it and move on. But I will not continue with this request now. I will actually move and show you a different request that was submitted earlier and that we are in the middle of approving. Once a request is being submitted, on the right-hand side, I can see where it is. I can see that Ryan already approved and that we are now waiting for Lucy to approve. Paulina already approved as well. Each one of those individuals do not need to guess or to come to the system in order to know that there is a request pending on them. They receive Slack message or team or email, and then they know that there is a new request pending. We can also see, if I click on Paulina, that Paulina automatically approved, meaning she wasn't really in the system approving because this request was below the threshold of how much finance need in order to be involved. Two things I want to show here. One is the fact that we can actually start a conversation for each and every line item here. We can come here and tag Baptiste, for example, and ask Baptiste what he thinks. Baptiste will now receive Slack, Teams, email. He will reply on this Slack or email, and then everything will be here. So communication will become very easy. The other thing I want to show here, I will just for a second approve on behalf of Lucy. And I want to really show for a second our very slightly orchestration approach. A lot of the approval flow are not actually human beings. Ryan and Lucy and Paulina are human beings, if it's not me on a demo, but they are human beings. The next two steps here are actually not people. So the first example is DocuSign. We got to this step, we actually sent an NDA through DocuSign because we are now integrated with DocuSign. And we are now monitoring DocuSign, waiting for signatures. Once all the signatures are on DocuSign, we will move to the next step. No human being need to be involved in that process. The same can happen with Jira or ServiceNow or Monday or any other solution. The same can also happen, by the way, with purchase order from your ERP. The other example I have here is questions to the vendor. We actually allow you not only to send questionnaires to the vendor, but to send multiple questionnaires at different times in the process. So you can have finance questionnaire for vendor onboarding, and you can have InfoSec questionnaire for security, and you can have compliance questionnaire for your HIPAA compliance questions. All the vendor replies will appear here, and you will be able to see it all in one place. I will move now to the intake editor, where the self-service happen, where you can actually look at the product and make sure that it does what you expected it to do. So in our intake editor, we have 5 tabs. You define here your questions to the requestor, the questions to the vendor, then fields or questions that the approver need to approve before they can actually click approve. You define here who needs to approve under which conditions and the automation. I will slightly touch on each of them, mainly on the question side. So the questions, you can, for example, I showed you earlier that what are the payment terms. If it was below net 30, you had a note. You can just come here and update. As for the requestor, those are the questions for the requestor. That's how you define those. You can see, for example, that the question for what are the payment terms, we saw it earlier. We saw earlier that if I picked below net 30, that was the note. So here I am, I can actually change what's written here. If I want, I will push it to live. And by that, I changed it for the end user. I did not need to contact Opstream to ask for any help. I was just able to do that. But it goes even further, because I can say that this question appears only when it's below 10K and the vendor is new or onboarded. I can have multiple conditions here, basically endless number of conditions with an and or an or between them. But it goes even more, because I mentioned, Amanda, when we spoke earlier about our catalog and our ability to actually read from additional platforms. When I create a new question, I can do the basic ones, what every system has, text and number and date. You can figure those out. But I want to spend a minute on what is called data source. So I pick data source. At the moment, my demo environment is connected to NetSuite. I can ask here, for example, which item you would like to purchase today. And I say here that I want to pick item from NetSuite. Now, let's spend a second on this one. The list of fields I see here are not fields from Opstream. Those are fields from NetSuite. If I go to my NetSuite now and add additional field, it will automatically be in Opstream immediately. I pick item, and by the way, when the users see the dropdown of the items, you can also say, oh, just show the user the items that his subsidiary is allowed to pick. But more than that, I will immediately add additional question. And that question now that I'm adding, I will say that this question is conditional on what item would you like to purchase today. Now, Amanda, I saw a lot of platforms in my career, but the fact that I just added this, and a minute after I was able to add this question, and here I can pick directly items from NetSuite, this is something that most systems do not allow you to do right away with a minute change. This is the questions for the requestors. The same will apply for the approver and the vendor. I will go quickly to the approver settings, and I will say here that you can define settings that are in sequence, meaning You first have a business review. Only when it finishes, the initial review starts. And then in the initial review, you can have multiple reviews of people. This will happen in parallel. For each of the reviewers, you will have when they automatically approve and when they are assigned. For example, Finn here will be assigned only above a certain amount. You can also have, as we saw, integrations. So for example, DocuSign, or create NetSuite, create vendor in NetSuite, or send questionnaire. The last thing I will show you here at the editor is the fact that, for example, if I continue with the example of NetSuite purchase order, and here you will see the power of our orchestration, we know to identify what are the mandatory fields for purchase order. You can see that I cannot delete. I don't have a trash bin for those questions. The reason is those are mandatory in my NetSuite. I can delete those. I cannot delete those. And those ones, I have the ability to say, oh, where do I take the location from? I take it from this question. I take it from that question. The item, let's take it from the question that we just added together. Where is that? Which item would you like to purchase today? We just added it, and here it is for the purchase order. If I now go to NetSuite, I will have additional fields here. The last thing I want to show you in the demo, and of course we have so many other things, but I will mention just one more thing in the demo. And this is our reminders capabilities. Every date that we save for any of our vendors can be set up to be reminded, and then to create an automatic workflow from that date. I'll give you an example. Whenever the SOC 2 expires for all software 30 days before, if it's a vendor with risk level, medium and high, please alert those people. How to alert them? By Slack, email, and in Opstream. You can set that to every type of date, to every software, to every vendor, or to each individual software or vendor. I can actually come here and pick that I want to do it only for Adobe, for example. And you can actually take it a step further, because I don't need a reminder for the SOC 2 expiration date. I need it to send the vendor, hey, vendor, please upload the new SOC 2 expiration date. That will happen automatically according to the reminders. Of course, we have so many other features. I'll be happy to add more, but I think we're out of time.
Loved hearing all about what you did today. That demo was fantastic. Opstream is something for everyone to take a look at more deeply. Do you have any closing thoughts for us today?
As I said earlier, every company in the world needs a procurement orchestration platform. And when you look at procurement orchestration platform, it's important to not only look at the capabilities today, but also to make sure that it's the front line of technology, and making sure that whatever comes next will be adapted by that procurement orchestration platform. Otherwise, you will find yourself with an outdated platform very soon after. Yeah. And of course, happy to speak with whoever is interested, and we are here at Opstream.
Well, Lihi, it was wonderful chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time. And we're now going to transition into 3 things that I loved about what I heard today, and 3 recommendations that I have for the future. So thank you again.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for having me, Amanda. Bye.
All right. 3 things that I loved about what I heard today, and 3 things that I don't quite love yet. It's actually really hard because I loved more versus maybe some future recommendations. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the 3 things that I loved about what I heard today. So number 1 is the self-service capability that you saw in the demo. I think that is super, super smart. And one of the biggest gaps that I see from orchestration tools today is the ability to maintain what you have. If you have an orchestration tool that requires you to go to them each and every time, it gets very, very cumbersome. And we know how agile our organizations are and how often things are changing. So I love that aspect of their tool, that it's self-service. And the addition of that AI configuration, I'm going to combo that with number 1, that AI configuration that's going to come out in the future. So, so sweet. I love that concept for an admin to be able to go in and be directed on best in class ways to configure their solution based off of their needs is such a game changer. So really was pleased to hear that today. Okay, number 2 is the functionality that you saw in the demo about adapting to the other systems that you're integrated with. You saw when the admin was trying to go in and deleting something that was required in NetSuite that's not allowed. And when you added a new field, it automatically pulled up what could be populated from your other systems. That was the first time that I've actually noticed that in an orchestration capability. I think that's a real differentiator for them, that really quick and easy way to kind of keep your systems in sync is so, so smart. Orchestration tools are highly integrated platforms, so you don't want to have to tap into your IT organization every single time when you need to make a change. So for the sustainability of the solution, I think that was a really smart play that they did within their system. And the last one, and this is from a change management standpoint, so number 3 thing that I loved about what was said today was that they're going to where the people are. So often we get very focused on our procurement systems and we expect people to go into the application to see statuses and whatnot, where you can configure Opstream to go into where they are. So whether that's Slack, Teams, into their email, etc. So I think that's it really reduces the amount of change management that you have to go through to get a system like this up and running. Okay, so those were the 3 things. And I had a whole bunch of other things that I liked about what I heard today. I thought it was very, very well done. So 3 things that I don't quite like yet, or recommendations that I have for the future considerations. I honestly, was somewhat surprised to hear that they're focused on small businesses. I would love for this type of technology to be deployed to mid-market and enterprise, and it sounded like they had some experience in that space. But if I'm sitting in an enterprise today, or if I'm sitting in a mid-market procurement organization, I would not rule them out. But I would like to see them grow into those sectors, because man, what I saw today would be so useful for organizations of medium size and large size capability. What another item that I would love to see more of from them is the direct side of the business. We saw a lot of scenarios today that were more focused on the indirect space, but they do have the capability of that direct side. And I'm just imagining everyone, like the handoff between demand and requisition in so many of our systems is so disconnected, unless you have it in your ERP alone. But if you have an ERP that's creating the demand and another source for pay system that is creating the requisition, that is a very hard integration to make and make sure that it's not with error. So I would love Opstream to showcase that a little bit more, because that is a huge opportunity in the market to close that gap and make sure that that runs more seamlessly in the future. And I think they're well positioned, given their design, to be able to do that. And again, they just might not have had time to touch on it today. So I'm sure I would sure like to dive in more there. And then, gosh, the third one, and I think it's more just my lack of understanding, perhaps. It would have been great to see kind of like how the end to end comes together from a user experience. And again, like we saw the intake, and that's perfect. And we saw the request process, but seeing more of that end to end in Opstream would be fantastic. So not only that upfront part, but maybe more of like that true source through pay process, and getting into that might be on their roadmap. But gosh, I loved what I saw, but my wish and hope would be maybe to extend further across the process. So y'all, if you loved what you saw today and think it might be a really good fit for you, we do have a form below that you can fill out where you can either learn more about orchestration solutions in general, get more information about Opstream, and then also if you're just curious and need help selecting a procurement system, we're here for you at Wonder Services. So we would love to hear from you. Please check out that link below. And if you want to see our other Procure Tech Wonders videos, hit that subscribe button, hit the like. That is always something that we appreciate. And also check out our website, wonderservices.net. I am the proud founder of Wonder Services, and we do such great work helping procurement organizations truly transform with a very focused effort on not only the technology, but the people and the adoption around that technology, which is truly the game changer. So hope to hear from you. And again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we will see you back here at a later episode.